Hello, it's me, Heckraiser. How the heck are ya? Today, we're going to be talking about tchotchkes. Knick-knacks, trinkets, doodads, collectibles, whatever you want to call them. They are everywhere. We all have them. Some of us, too much of them. I'm looking at you, Grandma. And I found them to be akin of this new wave in the art industry on Instagram and TikTok, where everyone is kind of just creating the same thing. Over the last decade, there has been this weird obsession with frogs and mushrooms, the whole cottagecore vibe, and now I'm seeing shrimp and sardines and geese. And I kind of jumped on the bandwagon of little wormy things as well. And it got me thinking, what is our obsession with these little guys? These tchotchkes? Is it a new form of art, or is it just another wave of consumerism? I think there's a fine line between a knick-knack and a piece of art. But I don't think they're mutually exclusive. But what defines a knick-knack and the themes that are associated with it? Essentially, it's anything you can turn into a salt and pepper shaker. Let me just give you a few examples of popular motifs throughout the centuries. I'll try to list them in chronological order. Okay, so we've got, probably the earliest I can recollect, angels, Native Americans, horses, lighthouses, sailboats, poodles, dog breeds in general, and in the early 2000s I can remember chefs, apples, celestial sun and moons, flamingos, dolphins, my mom's personal favorite, the glass ones were everywhere in our house, cardinals, chickens, birds in general, fairies, one of my personal favorites, it's so whimsical, dragons, wolves, and more recently, bees, gnomes, bee gnomes, ladybugs, those 2012 owls, cherries, beetles, and for the goth bitches, skulls, crows, cats, bats, spiders, ghosts. I am so over it. It is so tacky. I digress. I could go on and on and on and on, but you get the gist. The earliest known trinkets were actually made by prehistoric humans, so this is just innate in our nature. We've always liked tiny little things. In prehistoric times, we often had animals carved out of ivory, limestone, or clay. In ancient Egypt, you'd often find little cat statues because they worshipped cats. But honestly, who doesn't? They're so cute. And this is a little fun fact. In ancient Japan, they had found little phallic objects made out of stone and little dolls of curvy women. They used them for fertility rituals. Seems as though humans have always had an affinity for tiny objects, and we've always created art with the intention of storytelling. By the 12th century, the art of porcelain was born. The Chinese had invented and developed porcelain clay and were producing porcelain figurines in addition to pottery. This was a cherished traditional Chinese movement until the 18th century when Europe discovered their clay, then importing and reinventing it for Europeans. A century later, mass production of porcelain spread all throughout Europe. Among the most loved and collected were from Staffordshire, England. Figurines of peasants, royalty, and animals, especially dogs, were marketed to the middle class in England and imported to America. During World War II, American soldiers brought home Hummels from Germany, which soon became one of the most popular types of collectibles. Remember the Hummel craze? They had a whole South Park episode about it. They're the original Labubu's, y'all. They were everywhere, and it soon became a very popular gift to commemorate special occasions such as weddings, anniversaries, and birthdays. Let's take a dip into what the production process looked like for these original collections, because they really were handcrafted by artists. For Hummels, each Hummel was designed by Sister Maria Innocenta. After sketching each design, her colleague, Franz Goebel, hand-sculpted an original model, and then a team of artisan casters would produce these in batches by slip casting them in plaster molds. As the popularity grew, the team got bigger and they made up to 55,000 Hummels a year. Throughout America, trinket collecting is still deeply rooted in tourism. Every mountain town thinks splattering Bigfoot on everything is what makes them unique. When I'm in Colorado, I see knickknacks based on nature, bears, elk, wolves. In South Dakota, there was tons of Native American decor due to the reservation there. And in Maine, I saw lighthouses, boats, crabs. Florida, of course, there's gotta be gators and flamingos and dolphins. And in South Carolina, it had tons of pretty glass fish, which I love. I would buy them all in a heartbeat if I knew where they came from. While I do think tourism is great for the local economy, I feel like those little trinket shops no longer serve as a place to find something unique. Artists have been completely removed in some instances, and anything you get that's made of plastic, resin, acrylic is probably made by some type of automated machinery. So now when I do travel, I like to actually find real local artists to buy from. That way I get like a piece of the actual culture. One of my favorite pieces, actually, this isn't really a knick-knack, this is just art, but I went to Portugal and I found this flea market in Lisbon, and there was this local artist called Time of the Honoric, and they made so many cool things, and it's such a vibe. This one says, "Art industry killed my libido," and I have like 3 of their illustrations. It is such a unique style, and I think it's such a great idea to sell at a city flea market like that, especially in a touristy space. I'm gonna link their page below. Definitely go and support them. I think they are super rad. In Costa Rica, a local carved knickknacks and necklaces and stuff out of coconut shells. And I think that's such a like perfect, sustainable souvenir to have, because you're not creating more plastic. Other than collecting for travel mementos, why are we all drawn to the same themes? Like, why did we all have chickens in our kitchen? Dolphins in our bathrooms? Why are we drawn to frogs all of a sudden? Why does my grandma have 329 cardinals in our house? These are the questions I need answers to. Well, from a psychological perspective, these motives can be known as identity markers, a visible representation of their sense of self that brings them comfort and safety within how they perceive their personality. And why do we have such common shared themes? Why animals? Well, of course, this art has to come from somewhere. And if we really all wanted to be original, it would take so much work to find our unique niche and to find artists who create that specific niche and have a cohesive collection that you can purchase from. I think that would take a very long time. Like, for example, I love zombies, clearly. I had an entire zombie-themed room in college, and I got a lot of that from Spirit Halloween. So, super lame, don't recommend, but if I were to actually invest in that collection and hunt for zombie figurines that kind of all have the same style, that would take me an immense amount of time. I'm sure there are like one-off unique collections here and there with wacky themes, but most are going to be based around animals, nature, the human condition. The internet plays a big factor as well. You wouldn't be able to find specific niches back then. You know, it'd be whatever you could find in the Macy's catalog. But now with the internet, there is micro niches everywhere. Like, does a Komodo dragon collection exist now? Probably. You can now make any animal your whole personality if you choose to do so. We are also swayed by the science of cute, also known as baby schema. This phenomenon involves specifically visual triggers that activate our caregiving responses. Small items with big eyes and round faces are universally cute to us. When we see something with these features, it releases dopamine and oxytocin, making us feel good. So in brain rot terms, literal dopamine decor. And the smaller the item, the more it feels baby-like, which means the more dopamine. And with little animals, that stems from biophilia, the innate need to connect with nature, which we are losing more and more of every day. But sometimes you'll even see knickknacks of random items like vegetables, the chili pepper. Normally I wouldn't look at a pepper and be like, dang, ain't that cute? But you know, it's got a little smirk, a little pizzazz, a little swag, and I'm like, put it in my house. Put that in my house. We are now experiencing a resurgence of collecting. With digital overload, a crushing economy, thrifting and collecting gives us that immediate gratification because it's easy, it's accessible, and it is low commitment. When people can no longer afford to go on vacation or travel over the weekend, spending $3 at the thrift store on a cute little guy, it somehow fills the void. A lot of what we like is actually rooted in pop culture. The dolphin craze in the 90s was actually followed by a series of movies based around marine biology. Remember Flipper? Girls latched onto it and corporations flocked to capitalize it as soon as possible. And now with the internet, we have micro trends in pop culture. So I had to figure out where the sardine thing came from because I've been seeing sardines all over the internet. And I guess there's a thing called Sardine Girl Summer. Look it up. 2025, Sardine Girl Summer was a thing. Makes total sense according to my algorithm, but apparently I missed the memo. The sardine motif became a popular trend due to its ties with the internet's recession core. Because, you're poor, you eat sardines because you're poor. There's a correlation there somehow. I'm poor, I never ate sardines. But sardines are seen as timeless, they're fun, they're cute, they're humble. They've got this with the art involved, it's got this Mediterranean chic vibe to it. And with its retro vibe, the artist picked up on it heavy. I think this also translates to other small creatures because I've seen little shrimp things everywhere and they're so cute. And I want them, I want little shrimp earrings. I don't even like eating shrimp, but I just think shrimps are so cute. Same with little squids, I've been seeing that everywhere. Little snails. I think it's because it goes back to the baby schema thing. They're tiny, they're cute, and they're harmless, and it brings you joy. That's why they're popular. So what has this done for the art industry? I honestly think this is directly tied to the economy because we're in a society where no one can afford a big house, no one can afford to buy a giant art piece, let alone even fit it in their apartment. But we still can find joy in investing in true art by supporting artists through stickers or pins or weird eyeball goo things. I think creating art has also become more accessible. As a starving artist myself, investing in supplies for a large canvas or a big sculpture is expensive. I just spent $100 on a 30 by 30 the other day, and if I were to make something out of it and try to sell it, it would be very difficult for me because not the average everyday person is going to have $500 burning a hole in their pocket. But if I create small, cute, collectible pieces that I still think I identify with, that still portray a message that is valuable to me, then I think I can receive much more support from the everyday person. And I think that almost makes it a little bit more meaningful. On the other hand, big business always wants a piece of the pie. It can be hard now as an artist to justify the price of my pieces because a lot of people would rather buy a blind box or they are invested in the boo-boo craze. Mass production of collectibles like that can reach a much wider audience, and it's creating a collective consciousness of people who kind of share the same hobbies, the same vibe. And I think people who buy stuff like that, they want to be a part of that consciousness. They want to be connected in that way so that when they see someone who has a Labubu and they have, the same one, they're like, oh my gosh, hey, we have something in common. And I don't think that's inherently a bad thing. Sometimes I feel like I want a Labubu. I think they're really cool. And I kind of want to jump the bandwagon. I think it'd be kind of fun. But I think for artists, when they're just making one-off pieces like that, it can be kind of hard to gain that same traction. Overall, though, I do think Knick-Knacks do great things for the art world. When I'm making and selling trinkets, I am kind of putting out a bid for connection with consumers. And I kind of see it as seeds that can build into something greater. With consumers, the small purchase that they create with you is kind of a nudge in the right direction. It's them saying, I support you, I love what you do, and now I have a little piece that I can share with others. My would you still honk if I was a worm sticker. That is my favorite thing on the table because every single time someone comes up to it and they see it, they chuckle, they laugh, it automatically makes me more comfortable because I know that they have the same sense of humor as me, and it just brightens my day. It brightens their day. And it's so funny because I feel like at this point in my town, there's just this little car cult of just quirky girls with the same bumper sticker. And it's so funny because every time I'm driving around and I see it, I'm like, hey, I made that. But also it's I actually met that person face to face. I had a laugh with that person. And I think it makes the world so much smaller and so much cozier and better off than it was before. So if you guys have a collection, if you have a special knick-knack, let me know. Share it with me. I'd love to see what your vibe is, what you identify with, what you love. For me, if I wanted to have a whole collection of knickknacks and trinkets and things of that nature, you know, zombies for sure. Garbage pail kids. I think that'd be really cool if they had like little statuettes. I would collect them all. And maybe I'll just make them myself. I don't know. But comment below what your favorite vibe is, what your favorite motif is, what you love seeing on Instagram. I love the little shrimp guys, I can't deny. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like and subscribe, and I will see you later. Bye!